Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Way and Room podcast, where we'll be previewing the action from Newmarket on Saturday and Sunday with the Guineas meeting, seeing the first two classic races of the season. Also, we'll be covering a listed race from Goodwood and the Hunt Cup from Thirsk, which will both be live on ITV Racing at the weekend. As ever, myself, James Mackie, is joined by Frankie Foster. But this week, Paul Callahan is an absentee, been a bit under the weather. So hopefully me and Frankie can keep the show on the road for this week. Frankie, how have you been? I've seen you been at Punchestown. How's the last few days been?
All good, yeah. I love coming over for Irish racing. It's, you know yourself, don't you? It's just so relaxed on course. Everybody chats away. You've got trainers and jockeys kind of mix in with everyone else. So my head, if I'm honest, has been fully in the jumps racing rather than the flat. But yeah, as you said, hopefully we can find a few winners on the flat. I am at Newmarket Saturday, so I've got to look ahead to that.
Well, as you said, the jump season really is coming to a close, isn't it now? Punchestown's the last big meeting for both Britain and Ireland. And now we're concentrating on the flat, and Newmarket kicks off the season really, even though we have the Lincoln and we have other little races leading up to May. The Guineas, the first two classes of the season, and it's a really good card, isn't it? We're going to start with the 150 Class 2 handicap we're going to look at, over 6 furlongs. And Frankie, it looks a really tough one to me. Over 20 runners to kick us off. Go and find the winner.
Yeah, I think this is one for the bookies, isn't it? You're trying to find one that might run into a place. I mean, at least you've got the odds on your side, and most of these are, or all of these really, are an each way play. The one I'm probably most attracted to is actually, as I'm looking at it, drifted a little bit out to 10-1 at the time of recording. Strike Red. I'm looking past his last two runs. If you look at what he did last season, a couple of runs on the all-weather, and then decent enough performances, I think, in Class 2 handicaps. Now, he retains his mark of 93 here for a poor finishing run to end last season and a below-par reappearance run this season. But I think if there was some improvement over the winter, and you can look past that as a reappearance run, which a lot of horses do need, I think maybe he could have improved past his mark of 93. So I'm hoping that he could come back here better than what he showed last season, off a similar mark.
Yeah, Richard Fahey as well. He's not a stranger winning these sorts of races, is he? In the past at York especially, and at Newmarket a few times, he's won races like this. So definitely in with a shout. I've dutched this race because there's so many runners, and I've gone two against the field each way prices. The first one is Tahib for William Haggis, owned by Shadwell Estate, and was bought for just over £1 million. So it's a lot of money for a horse. We've seen it more and more often now.
In a handicap like this as well.
Exactly, and they obviously want to return on a horse. And I think for her looking to kickstart her campaign this season, this is a perfect race to start. She's been seen 4 times today. Made a race score debut in October 2020 when second at Newmarket in a Fillies Novice Stakes on heavy ground. I don't think she wants heavy ground. I think she wants quick ground. She was safe for a 3-year-old campaign last term, returned in October. She got off the mark on debut at Lingfield on her first try at 6 furlongs and backed that up at Yarmouth, so under a penalty that day as well, which means she took well to the turf. She was last seen in the listed Wentworth Stakes at Doncaster in November. She was only midfield 8th that day, and again the ground was softer, which went against her. She definitely wants quicker ground. Look, she's bought for over £1 million. She makes a handicap debut today for a mark of 83. Holly Doyle's in the saddle. She's one of the only jockeys that can really make this weight of 8 stone. There's only one more runner in the field that's got less weight than her. I just think from a lofty reputation for how much she's cost, if she can't go close off a handicap mark of 83, why are you spending that much money on a horse personally?
Yeah.
Look, it's happened before where horses have cost a lot of money and they've flopped and they haven't quite been that horse. And look, it might be the same, but just looking at facts like that, you'd like to think she'd be better than a mark of 83.
It's not often you get a £1 million horse off a near bottom weight in a handicap, is it?
Exactly, and that's what drew my eye. Another one I will just mention, and I'll put up at each way as well. And it has come in for a bit of support lately, 12-1 into 9-1 while we're recording. And it's Black Rod for Michael Dodds. Michael Dodds is brilliant with his sprinters. And another reason why I've gone for this is because when you're looking at the start of the season at Newmarket at these big fielded handicaps, I've chosen one that's drawn in stall 17, and I've chosen one that's drawn in stall 4. So I don't know when they're going to split, which side's going to be the more pacey at the moment.
Covering
it's
angles.
so I'm trying to cover all angles each way. But this horse, Black Rod, had a number. He was a fair juvenile, winning one of his 3 races. But everything seemed to click for him last season, winning some really good races between 5 and 6 furlongs. Needed his debut run at Haydock in May, only 7th in a handicap off mark of 88. Then got on to quicker ground at York, just like Tahi, but I think the quicker ground just suits this horse. In June, finished a superb second to the talented First Folio, who runs in this. Still on a handy mark of 87, he got off the mark for the season at Newmarket on the July course, landed a good 17 runner handicap. Again, quick ground was the key to his win there. Dropped to 5 furlongs at York, was on a mark of 91, so went up slightly, and he scooted up again, being a nice horse in digital for Kevin Ryan. Off the same mark in his last starter there in the Silver Cup, he just shows he loves these big fielded handicaps. He finished 3rd of 24 again that day. Now only £4 high for this run. I just think he can go really well. Look, the draw might be a bit of a factor. We don't know which way, but I just thought around the 9-10 to 1 mark, and for his form last season, I know he was on the July course as well, but I just think he's got a really good chance. Really, really good chance. I think both of them I'd like to play against the field personally, but look, it's very tough. 21 runners. We'll have to see what happens. But what I would say is just check your bookmakers you're using, because there will be extra places on offer for this race, definitely. So the next race we're going to cover, we're going to go away from Newmarket, and it's the only race from Thirsk on ITV this weekend. And it's another competitive one in the Hunt Cup. Really tricky handicap every season, this, Frankie. Who do you fancy?
It's a proper Thirsk handicap, this, isn't it? And the one I like is actually shortening up as we speak a little bit on a session. In these handicaps, I really like a horse that's strung together some performances on the all-weather and seems to be improving on the all-weather before coming back to turf off of what could prove to be a handy mark. I'd say this horse was improving quite nicely last season, and as I just said then, has opened this year on the all-weather, strung some good performances together. You could argue that is coming right into form now and switching back now onto the turf with a mark of just, or a rating of just 90, I think could be quite handy for this horse.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on this one, and I'm surprised. I can't believe we've agreed on in such a tricky race on a horse.
Yeah.
On a session, took my eye last time it ran, and I was always waiting for where it was going to run next. And it's nice it's gone into a race like this, because it is competitive, but you do get a nice price, around 7 to 1 mark at the moment. I just think the way he got back to form after a poor string of runs, like we've been talking about horses when we were talking about the all-weather, when we were talking about Wolves a few weeks ago. Larter Harty was a horse we both mentioned that we really liked. That finished behind that horse that day, and Misty Grey, who's a nice horse on the all-weather. Off the same mark of 89 last time out, went to Lingfield and was a narrow second, and there was another nice handicap event. I just think I've only a £1 higher, and also finished a close 4th in this race last year of £2 higher than it's marked today. So he's got a bit of leeway from where he was last year. I just thought all roads led to on a session running a good race. And I agree with you. I do like horses that are coming from the all-weather, going back onto turf. They've put a nice string of runs together. So yeah, we're on the same wavelength with that one. And a nice price of 7 to 1. You can definitely back it each way, because there's enough runners in the field to have a go with that for that. Back over to Newmarket. Next up, the race we're going to cover is the Class 2 Suffolk handicap over 1 mile, 1 furlong. Quite a nice race, I thought, where you can look at a lot of different angles to have a go at some horses. Who did you side with?
Yeah, talking of expensive horses, I think, am I right in saying the most expensive horse in training?
I think he is, yeah. I was looking at this earlier, and 3.1 million guineas cost?
Yeah, mental. More money than I've got. A lot more money than I've got. That's partly the angle I'm taking. I just think, you've got to be brave here, but your nerves would be eased by the fact that it's Charlie Appleby and William Buick. The form that they're stringing together is just incredible. And this horse has only ran 3 times. This will be his first run this season. But given the yard form, you'd be more trusting that they'd have this horse ready and firing. And, he won his first race. He was second in the race, then third in a group race. This horse could be special. And given the price tag on it as well, if he is firing, 7 to 2 could look value after the race.
It really could. Like we were talking about earlier with Tahib, this horse's marker 103 could be really well in. If you're spending that much money on a horse, you want it to be better than a marker 103, don't you? And look, the way Appleby's going at the moment, especially with Buick, they're absolutely flying. You wouldn't want to take them on, but flawlessly enough, I'm going to take them on. I'm going to take them on. I'm going to take them on with the top weighted moving time for Roger Varian. This 4-year-old's only been seen 5 times in his career, so quite unexposed for his age, really. Twice as a juvenile and second on both occasions over a mile, bumping into quite a smart one in Rebels Romance on his first start, which looks quite nice form with that horse going on to do quite well. Seen 3 times as a 3-year-old, made a very pleasing seasonal debut last term in May over 1 mile 2 at Newmarket, beating that talented Kamari for the same connections as DeBarby. Beating him by 4 lengths in a maiden that day, and I thought that was quite taking. His other 2 runs after that, he went into the Group 3 Hampton Court Stakes at Royal Ascot, could only run into 5th behind Moafeth. He finished last season in July, when 4th of 8 in against Real World, who's gone on to do really well. That was in the listed Stevenson Stakes. That horse has gone on to win Group 3s, Group 2s, and running Group 1s. So that's not bad form at all. This horse now moving time, obviously they think of a group horse, now running in a handicap of a marker 106. Talented claimer Harry Davis takes £7 off, which sees it off a marker 99. I think he's better than a marker 99. And I think around 6 to 1, 5 to 1, I would like to take on the favourite with this horse, because I think another thing to have with this horse is getting him fresh. First time out, well, might be the time to catch this horse, and I'm going to stick with moving time on this one. So another race away from Newmarket that we're going to cover that's on ITV this weekend is the only race from Goodwood on the Saturday, and it's the listed Conqueror Filly Stakes over a mile. And to me, I'm not sure about you, Frankie, but to me, it looks a pick between the top 2. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's another one that, in hindsight, after the race, 7 to 4 about the favourite could look value. You've got to be brave again here, because she looked so good at Newbury, at York, even at Newmarket. 3 really good runs in top class races against top class horses, and then at York and at Newmarket the last twice, more recently, just didn't quite look the same horse. I know that's running in Group 1s, it's running at the top level, but I thought Prima Baccio, through the early start of last year, excuse me, looked to be a very smart horse, and just hasn't quite followed that up. But I think, really, if she can run to that more recent form of Newbury, York, Newmarket, even Deauville that she strung together, should be winning this race. As you said, the other horse is only ran once and we know less about, but I just think in a listed race, Prima Baccio, if she does what she can do and showed early last year, this I think should be shorter. But I mean, time will tell. I might look stupid, but I said in hindsight it could look value.
Look, I do agree with you and I don't agree, because I do think Prima Baccio is a very, very nice horse, but I am willing to take her on in this race with that second favourite, Zanbach, for Roger Varian. And one of the big factors is giving away a stone to a horse that I think is quite a nice horse is going to be tough. He's going to be really tough. And this will prove how good Prima Baccio is and just the difference in golfing class. But Zambach, exceptionally well-bred daughter of Oasis Dream, cost $450,000 as a yearling. She's only been seen once today. We're making a really good debut at Kempton over 7 furlongs. She got off the mark that day. She beat Washra for Owen Burrows, who next time out went on to win at Wolves, franking the form. And that horse looks a really nice horse as well. Varian, I think, holds this horse in quite high regard, given a second run in a listed event against a proven horse in Primo Baccio. I think the reason she's valued is because she's 11 to 4, getting that stone.
It's a lot of weight to give away, isn't it?
It is. And another thing that I noticed as well, 2,000 guineas day, Saturday. I know that I'm not sure that Shadwell have anything in the 2,000 guineas, but you expect Jim Crowley to be knocking about a Newmarket, and he's come to Goodwood for this ride instead. I thought that was quite telling personally for me. And at 11 to 4, I think that's quite a nice price about a horse that could just turn out to be anything. And I'm willing to take the favourite on for me personally. But look, I could have egg on my face. Primo Bacio could be a stone better than this horse. It might be a bit early in a career still, but it's a fascinating race. But I'll be surprised if the winner doesn't come out the top two for me personally. But Zambak, it is for me. So moving back over to Newmarket, one of the big events on the Saturday on the Rowley Mile is the 3 o'clock Group 3 Palace House Stakes over 5 furlongs. Another little tricky affair, but some nice horses going to post. Frankie, who did you come down on?
I'm going to go with Came From the Dark here. And my thinking really is lots of these horses have been running in listed company. They've been running in handicap after handicap after handicap. Came From the Dark is one of few in here that strung together some solid performances in group races. And I think those last 3 runs won a handicap. Okay, it was a Class 2 handicap, but then went on to come second in a Group 3, then won a Group 3 to finish the season at Sandown last year. I just think that form in better company will hold strong here as against what I said, a lot of horses that have placed and won and ran well, but albeit in listed company and handicaps, which I don't think is quite as good.
Yeah, I came down on the same horse here. I think it's a cracking bet around 5 to 192 at the moment as we record. For the what you've just said, what you've just mentioned, and for this horse cost 480,000 guineas. And you wouldn't have ever thought that with being from Ed Walker, you don't expect horses like that. You normally buys these horses 40, 50,000, 100,000, trying to make them better than what they are. This horse costs quite a lot, and he come with a bit of reputation. They have to be a good horse. And if you look at the horses he beat last season, you can see why he cost so much, because I just think he's a really consistent sprinter over 5 and 6 furlongs. 4 times last year, he was seen, started his campaign off at Musselburgh over 5 furlongs and was a good third behind Jabberwocky, who was well handicapped that day, and Zarzini, who we tipped up 2 weeks ago that went on to win. And that horse has just been progressing on the all-weather and on the turf. And he was giving weight away to both those horses that day, finishing third. So I thought that was a good run. Sent to Newbury next time, got off the mark of the season. Look at the horses he beat again. Garrus, who's gone on to run well already this season. Kingslin, who's a lovely sprinter, and Tis Marvellous, who's been knocking around in Group 1 company for how long? So that obviously good form behind Came From the Dark. Also then looking to make it back-to-back wins. He went down by a neck to Godolphin's Lazuli. He's gone over to Maidan and won a race there, which again is really, really nice form. And then last season Came From the Dark rounded off his year by winning the Group 3 Coral Charge at Sandown. That's not an easy race to win. He beat Arecibo that day and Happy Romance, who have both come out and ran well again. So his form ahead and behind horses stacks up massively, like you were mentioning. I just think if he holds his form to those races, I think he's a big player. And I'd even go each way in this race at 5 to 1, because again,
He's very consistent, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just so consistent. We mentioned Kitty's Light last week.
The place. Yeah,
Kitty's Light last week. If you could have got a cover bet to finish in the top 3, that was the bet last week. And I think this horse is very similar to that, but just on the flat. I'll be very surprised if this comes out the top 3 from the way it's ran over the last 3 or 4 times. Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, nice to see us come down on the same one again. So the big race that everyone wants to find the winner in to start the flat season is the Group 1. 2,000 guineas, first British class of the season, 15 runners head to post. Where does the value lie? Who's the winner?
It's not the value, but I do think the favourite will win. I just think, God, even if it was your first time watching a horse race, you could watch that race and say that Native Trail is a very, very smart horse. I think when he won that Craven, just visually was so impressive, and all roads are kind of leading here for him to go and back that up. So I do think the favourite will be winning this, but at 10 to 11, as you said, where is the value? One that I just still can't let go of, which you're smiling because we had it the other week, is Perfect Power. I just think I still, for the same reason I tipped him up last time when I said he hits the line so hard, I said I don't know if he's hit top gear in his races, the stepped him up, and I still think the same. I still think now at a mile, there's more to come than what he showed at 7 furlongs. It takes a bit of time to get into his racing. Once he gets going, he was very, very impressive that day at Newbury. And I still believe there's another gear there. I really do. And I think he could definitely be in with a chance of running into a place here in behind Native Trail.
Yeah, Sumi on board again. You've got a bit of a love affair with Perfect Power. I'd be surprised
I do.
if you didn't put him up. And look, if he stays the mile out, he's definitely got a chance of being in the mix. Definitely. For me, I'm with you on Native Trail. I'm finding it very hard to get him beat. I've tried for 3 or 4 weeks looking at this anti-post market to try and get this horse beat. And when he came back at the Craven, all I wanted to see was that turn of foot, and it was there.
Yeah.
He might have taken him a bit longer than usual to get going, but I don't mind that because it's his first run back. His form speaks for itself. So he's champion 2-year-old last season, landed 4 races, maiden at Sandown, Group 2 superlative stakes at Newmarket. His first Grade 1 in the national stakes, which some nice horses have gone on to win for Appleby and other trainers in the past at the Curragh. He then rounded off the season by landing the Dewhurst. Perfect way to lead into the 2,000 Guineas. And as you said, when he came back in the Craven, and one thing I really like about this year, last year everyone was talking about Pinatubo for Appleby. He was the champion 2-year-old. He was winning the same races that Native Trail has gone on to win. But last year, before he went to the Guineas, he didn't have a run. Straight to the Guineas. And he sort of found him out in a way because he had to switch inside, switch outside, and came home flashing late, but Kamiko was already gone. And now they've given Native Trail a blowout. There is absolutely no excuse. It's like they really wanted. It's like they learned from last season. They've got the hot favourite, and they said all we need to do is give this horse a run, let it just freshen up. Over.
I agree.
It comes out the dip well, and I just think that was a perfect preparation for this that they maybe should have done last year. They've learned from that, and I think it's now slightly on the drift. It was 10 to 11 evens, out to 11 to 10. I just think it wins. I know it's an obvious shout, the favourite in the 2,000 Guineas, but I think he's got everything going for him. I think it's very hard to overlook. But look, as we're looking for value as well, you put a Perfect Power each way. The horse I'm going to put it each way is Aiden, however you want to say it. It's a less obvious shout. Looks 25 to 1. I do like my Roger Varian horse. I think he's a great trainer, and this horse looks really quite exciting. Maybe not to the level of Native Ribbon, he might get found out, but I just really like this horse. Prince Faisal is obviously in the colours of Mishrif, it turned out to be a lovely horse. This horse has run 3 times, finished 3rd on debut at Newcastle behind quite a nice one. I thought for John Gosden that day, and then over the same course and distance in February was a short-head second to Oceana Legend. Given his first start on turf at the Craven meeting over 1 mile, 1 furlong, so we'll know he will definitely stay the trip. There is no question about that because in the listed field and stakes, drifted out to 22 to 1 that day, couldn't be backed for love nor money, and he absolutely hosed up. He beat a lovely horse in Massacala for Andrew Balding. I thought that was absolutely superb form, and the way he drifted slightly out from the field, was given the run, and wasn't even given a hard day. That hard push away. I just thought that was really taking 25 to 1. I'd like to have a little each way go again. If you can try and get extra places with 15 runners, he hasn't took the most conventional route into these Guineas, but with each run, his scope to improve is just getting better and better. And I just really like his chances at 25 to 1. I thought he had a really good chance. The way he's run over at Newmarket as well, on the good ground, over further. There's question marks with some of these, whether they'll stay the trip. He will definitely stay the trip, and that's what I like. So those are Saturday's races on ITV covered. But Sunday also brings quite a nice day of racing at Newmarket. Obviously, the 1,000 Guineas is the main one we're going to talk about. But we're going to start talking about the Pretty Polly Stakes, the listed Pretty Polly Stakes over 1 mile 2. Frankie, the declarations as we're recording now are out, so we do know what horses are running and what aren't running. Who are you siding on in this one?
Keep it simple with this one for me. I think we agree as well on the favourite, Cornell. Frankie on board, 2 runs this year. They're well backed for both. Gone off short price favourite both times. The first run was 3rd on the all-weather, but first appearance, there's always lots to learn, and then came out and won when 8 lengths clear of the rest of the field at Newmarket. So I'd say the top 2 could work out to be both nice horses. The horse that finished just a short head second is yet to run again, so we don't know any more about that horse. But I just think, as I say, keep it simple. Frankie on board, a nice horse that's been well backed both times and goes off favourite again, and should be improving probably yet again for 2 appearances.
Yeah, I think she's definitely the one to beat. Definitely the one to beat, and I do think she goes on and wins. But I'm not sure it's as straightforward as other races she's been in. But I do think she goes on and wins this race. Her first start, she ran very green, finished third, promoted to second in the steward's room. She hit a lot of trouble that day, but it was nice to see her first run. It was nice to see her learn a lot of things, I thought. And she definitely took that into her second run on her first race on turf last time out, over the mile at Newmarket. She was quite determined that day, really put her head down, fought to win, saw off Fontaine for Kevin Ryan that day. And the pair of them went nearly 9 lengths clear of the third. So that's quite taken in itself. Another thing I like about this horse is she is a half sister to Saint Leger winner Logician. We know Logician stayed 1 mile 5, winning 1 mile 5, 1 mile 6, winning a Saint Leger, and won race over 1 mile 4. I think Quinnell looks a really nice prospect for Judmont, and going up another furlong to 1 mile 2. Whereas if you look at With the Moonlight's pedigree, maybe doesn't get that 1 mile 2 as well as Quinnell should. I think that's where the difference lies for me when they're both 15 to 8 at the top of the mark. I just think Quinnell will have more stamina. And you look at the way she battled on last race, she really put her head down. She wants to go and win races, so I really like that. The only thing I will say is I do think, I'm going to pronounce this so wrong, but Roger Varian's horse, Peripatetic, I think it's called. If you look at that horse at 5 to 1, she went on to beat that horse, beat Fontaine, who Quinnell beat by a head or a neck last time out. Peripatetic went on to beat Fontaine by half a length. So, and why that horse is 5 to 1, where the Quinnell's at 15 to 8, you got to look at that and think that should be maybe give a little closer in the markets. It might be the value, but overall, you've got the Frankie effects in those colours of a or John Dosden. You can probably see why it's 15 to 8 favourite. But I would just note that that Peripatetic won't be out of it at all if she runs to that style of form. So yeah, Quinnell for me, but the Chiefly Park one for Varian won't be far behind. And I might be wrong, but I can't have the Appleby one in this. So yeah, Quinnell for the both of us. So the second race on the Sunday we're going to cover is the Group 2 Dahlia Stakes over 1 mile, 1 furlong. A nice race, but a tricky field, Frankie. Who did you come down on?
I'm back with my man Christoph in this. Iberia for me. I just like this horse coming over to Newmarket. It raced very consistently over staying trips around a mile. Probably more often than not, slightly further, has gone over 1 mile 4 a couple of times in France and has gone to Hong Kong, and very, very consistent in and around the mile trip. And now coming over to Newmarket in this race, I think they're not here just for a holiday. And off of most recent form in Longchamp this season, and as I said, in Hong Kong, both of those runs, albeit third, I think have been quite impressive, and both around 1 mile 2. So a slight drop back, and it'll be the shortest that this horse has ran trip-wise for a while, but I think has every chance here.
Yeah, as you said, it's a nice angle that when they're coming over from France, only for a really Group 2 race that they could probably find in France as well. It might just be this horse wanted a bit of better ground, and Christophe Soumillon already coming over. It might just come in hand that they wanted to come and race. So it'll be definitely with a chance. The one I'm going to take a chance on, I've got a very love-hate relationship with this mare, Dream Loafer. This horse was a bit an up and down last season. This is why I say I have a love and hate relationship, because this horse can run so well over this trip against really good horses, and then can chuck in such a bad run, you can't believe it. And you just think, what's going on? If it runs to the form of the races where she's ran well, she will be in the frame here. And look, it's a competitive market. You've got 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 7 to 2, and then a 14 to 1, 14 to 1, 50 to 1. So there's 4 at the top of the market that the bookies can't really split. As I said, I'm just gonna go with Dream Loafer because currently 7 to 2, the 4th favourite in the field. A winner of the Group 3 Valiant Stakes over a mile on Good to Firm at Ascot in July. Seeing off the smart Lights On, who's already won this season in a nice race. Beat Lights On by 4.5 lengths that day. It was quite taking. Then went to Newbury in the Group 2 Hungerford Stakes and could only finish 4th behind the Talented Sacred for Chiefly Park. It's in twice more last term. She went over to Leopardstown in the Group 1 Matron Stakes. Look, I think they were probably just taking a punt that day to see if she could go and land a Group 1 across the Irish Sea. Didn't work out. Only beat 3 home that day, finishing 10th. But she returned to form in a big way when last seen back on home soil, finishing third at Newmarket over a mile in the Group 1 Sun Chariot Stakes. She was behind Mother Earth that day. It was 1,000 guineas with her, and Saffron Beach, who's just got better and better over time for Jane Chapel-Hyam. She steps up a furlong in trip today. I think she'll handle that no problem. I think the good ground is a key to what she wants. Yeah, I think 7-2. I like her chances. It's really tough. It's a race where I probably wouldn't be having a massive bet in, but when we're covering ITV races and we're putting one up, I think Dreamlope was the one for me in this. So the final race we're going to cover is the second classic of the flat season. It's the Group 1 1,000 guineas. 13, 14 runners gone to post now. Everything's been declared. Frankie, who are you siding with?
If I'm honest, I'm talking with my pocket a bit here. I had a shout for Tuesday, and she was a bigger price a while ago. I'd have to scroll back through some ambitious bets for the flat season, but Tuesday was one that I backed at a big price. So I'm hoping that she can run well here. You'd probably like to see her win a little bit better at 2-5 on last time, or this, first run this year at Nace. But, first run this season, I think she's probably the hype horse in this. Wouldn't be saying there's been a fair bit of chat around her coming into this. And I think the yard, some comments have come out of the yard about this kind of being the undercover horse. Well, at least it was now 5-1 second favourite. But yeah, I'm talking in my pocket a bit, and I'm clinging on to that bet slip with Tuesday for me.
Yeah, I think Tuesday's got a really, really good chance. It was nice that Aidan O'Brien talked in, I think it was this week or last week, saying she will go for this race before she goes to the Oaks. The only thing I slightly worry about Tuesday is she in the same colour as what Santa Barbara was last year, where they thought she was a 1,000 guineas horse, and she went on to the Oaks and ran a little bit better at Oaks, a little bit further. That's the only thing I worry about. I also worry about Tenebrism at the top of the market. This is why I'm happy to take her on. Look, she might stay. She's an unbelievable horse in the 2 runs she's done so far. The way she got up in that Cheveley Park was absolutely amazing. But I do have that slight doubt at 11-4. I don't think she's a price to back anymore. Look, she might stay, but I've got a little inkling that she might not get that full mile, and she might be a massive speed horse. And for that reason, at 5-1, 11-2, the each way value for me lies with Jessica Harrington's Discovery. I think this horse is a really interesting type, and a one that you can just see going to win a 1,000 guineas from the horses that she's had in the past, like Alpine Star, horses like that in these similar colours. I just think Discovery fits the bill. Daughter of Master Craftsman has been seen 4 times today, finishing 4th on debut last term behind Juncture, who I think has been declared for this year. Finished 4th on debut, but she's learned a lot from there, from over 7 furlongs. She got off the mark next time out of the Curragh, beating Aidan O'Brien's Tuesday, which is obviously quite a nice form with Tuesday coming out and winning. And that was only on a second start. She was given a run on soft ground next time out. She went on to finish a fair third, I thought, behind Agartha for Joseph O'Brien. I don't think she handled the soft ground as well as she does the quicker surfaces, which she's going to get on Sunday. And this proved when she rounded off last season, the Group 1 Moyglare Stud Stakes at the Curragh, she reversed the form with Agartha and Sunset Shiraz to go and win quite easily in the end and landing a Group 1 for the Yard. The Yard seem to think they had a good one with her, I think, the way they've been talking about her. And you listen to Kate Harrington as well on Racing TV. They think they've got quite a nice one. It's nice to see this Yard have another nice horse on the flat. As I said, I can pick holes in Tenebrism. I can pick holes slightly in Tuesday, even though I do like the each way value in Tuesday. I think Malavat's interesting for the and Zealy from France. But for me, 11-2, the each way value in Discoveries, I think is huge, and that's the filly I'll be having in that race. So, Frankie, we covered 9 races there across Friday and Saturday. Covered the 2,000 and 1,000 guineas. Hopefully, we found some winners. But the one winner that we want to try and pick out is our nap for across the 2 days. So, who are you going for? Who are you pinning all your hopes on for your nap this week?
I think the obvious one would be Native Trial, but I think that is too obvious, and I'd say everybody will have that as a bet that they hope that horse wins tomorrow. So we'll look elsewhere. And as I'm looking now, has gone into favourite, as we spoke about earlier, the money horse, the most expensive horse on the card, the Harvey for the Inform Appleby and Buick combo, I think could be better than the field here in that handicap. So 225 at Newmarket to Harby for me.
Yeah, around 10-3 at
Yep.
the moment. Yeah, 3-1.
Yep.
Yeah, quite a nice price. So my nap is going to be away from. I'm going to go back to the jumps, even though we've been talking about the
Here
I'm
he goes.
going to get on to what National Hunt Racing we have left. And my nap on Saturday is Epatante in the Mares Champion Hurdle. At 5-4, she's been a superb mare for Nicky Henderson, hasn't she, over the years? And this season has just been just as outstanding, coming back from a poor runs last season, but she's gone on to win the Grade 1 fighting fifth, Christmas Hurdle, Aintree Hurdle second over 2 mile 4. Her only defeat this season came behind Honeysuckle in the Champion Hurdle, which she has also won when Honeysuckle wasn't in the race. The step up to 2 mile 4 last time out in the Aintree Hurdle was absolutely no problem. Look, Zanna here was struggling when 4 at the last, and she won by a bigger margin than what she would have, but I still think she would have won that day. I think at 5-4, I'm surprised she's not odds against personally. I think 5-4 is a great price. There is some nice horses in there, like Marie's Rock from the same yards, and Burning Victory and Stormy Island, but I don't think they're at the same level as Epatante, and I think Epatante will win this race and then go to the Mares Hurdle at Cheltenham next year and probably win that as well. So I just think at 5-4, we've only had one British Raider win as we record, and that was Anthony Honeyball's Lilith. And I just think Nicky Henderson, I think he bought Phil's Dudairies over as well and a couple in a handicap. But I think Epatante
sent a few over,
yeah, I think Epatante's been his big chance of the week, and I would like to think at 5-4 she goes on and wins, and that'll be my nap on Saturday. So Frankie, thanks for all the selections, thanks for all the insight. Hopefully ahead of this weekend we've picked out the 1,000 or the 2,000 Guineas winner, or just some winners at Newmarket altogether. But please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Wizard Enclosure channel with plenty more content coming up. And Frankie, thanks again.